Yeah. Yep. Took out our
We only have 4 schools. Where's that run? Fourth and Center. That's a busy intersection. They got a nice parking lot there. Looks to me like they are. Lonnie with the lines probably on the way.
I'll get up and move around, but I have to use this for that.
Tell one of us to hit the next button or something.
Oh, you can come in. How are you? One. Hold the horse there.
Here for Center Street? Yeah. Come on in. Yeah.
We only need one of you. I'll bring you the sign sheet.
Well, it's 6:30, so we're going to get started, and there's a few more people trailing in here, but my name is Adam. I'm the Lindon City Administrator, and with us here tonight, we have Mayor Lundberg, we have our council member, Steve is over here, and then a few of our employees. Noah is our city engineer, and Trent, our staff engineer. Heath is our Parks and Rec Director. And over here in the back is Juan, our Public Works Director. And so several employees here that can help answer questions for you guys tonight. And what we're gonna do is start off just with a 15 or so, 15, 20-minute presentation that Noah, our engineer, will give. And then we have these 4 tables, and it's the same map at each table. And it has sections of Center Street and kind of shows some of the improvements that the city is looking at doing. A few things just to give an overview really quick on this. This is a project that the city council has been talking about for a few years. What's happening right now, we know your road is totally torn up, and we're thankful for your patience, and maybe that's an understatement, torn up. That is a water line replacement project, and what we're talking about tonight is an re-asphalting Center Street project. And so if you have questions about what's going on right now, though, we're happy to try to answer that as we split up into groups. And let's see. Yeah, we do have a sign-in sheet in the back if you want to be contacted. If we have any future meetings, we'll probably send that out by email. And so if you want to stay in that loop, we'll contact you that way. One big thing that is part of this, you may have in the back of your mind, how much is the city going to charge me for this? And right now, the city council has made the decision not to charge anything for these improvements in front of properties. And so all of this work would be paid for by general tax dollars. And so there will be some, again, construction work and things in front of your properties, and we'll need your help and cooperation to get some of that done along Center Street. But I'm going to turn this over to Noah to give you a brief presentation, and then again, for those that just walked in, It's the same map on all 4 tables. After Noah's presentation, we'll split up and let you take a look at these maps and ask us some questions. So. Oh, one more thing. So we are recording this meeting on it's going live right now on YouTube. So if your neighbors couldn't be here, they can watch that and log into our YouTube channel. There's a link on our city website, and so they can rewatch what's presented, and then it shows what we're presenting on the screen on that as well. So.
Thanks, Adam. So we've got Adam and Noah and Juan, which is John. We don't have a Moses. We're taking applications for any other Ezekiel, Zedekiahs. No, I am Noah. I often get called Adam, probably because people, can't really believe that anyone would name their kid Noah. When I was a kid, I was the only Noah that I knew. Like you go to the grocery store and you hear Noah, I was in trouble. But now I hear it, and it's some 4-year-old kid. So it's a popular name now. I don't know what happened. Okay, we're going to talk about this a little bit tonight. Adam has hit some of the highlights. Trent, can you hit that? We just first wanted to once again say thank you. Now, Adam misstated a little bit that there would be no charge. The charge for this project is your patience, which I think you've already been paying a lot. So we really do appreciate and thank you for your patience. We know it's been ugly. You're probably thinking, what's going on with these guys? Are they trying to tear up every road in town at the same time? The answer is yes, but not on purpose, but that's how it turned out. We'll talk a little bit about that. So, and if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them, but we're going to wait to the end, maybe the end of the presentation, because I'm thinking I keep getting asked the same questions, so the questions you have may get answered, but if they don't, be sure to ask us. Trying to hit that. So, as I just mentioned, there's been a lot of construction along, I'm guessing everyone in here is here because they live along Center Street, either on the north or south side or somewhere nearby. So I don't need to explain this to you. Temple construction and the dust and everything associated with that, the Canal Drive and other east side water lines, Center Street water line. It's a big mess. So it's going to get better, but it's a mess. So let's talk about Center Street improvements tonight. Go ahead, Trent. So why are we doing this now? Because the temple's coming, right? I mean, that's one of the main reasons. As Adam expressed, I think this has been on the city council's wish list for a long time, but with the temple coming in, it kind of helped bring it to the fore. It's also the center of the community. Lindon doesn't really have like a traditional main street, really. Like a lot of cities, like Provo has a main street with businesses on it. Center Street kind of doesn't have that, except for maybe Center Street. And as you all probably know, we're going to be celebrating here soon the 100th anniversary of Lindon. Mayor, do you have anything about next Monday? Is there anything happening?
Yes, absolutely. So over at the community center, we're having our big centennial celebration. March is the official 100th anniversary that we incorporated as a city. So 6:30 p.m., everyone in the community is invited. There will be food, there will be a live band. We're going to have a giant Dowdle puzzle unveiling of the city of Lindon that we commissioned with Eric Dowdle. He will be there signing puzzles. You can buy puzzles. It's going to be really great. So
we have not seen the puzzle yet. That's going to be the grand unveiling.
The grand unveiling.
But of Lindon, so it'd be kind of cool. Okay, Trent.
When was that?
Next Monday.
Monday night, 6:30.
Just barely, yeah, the 25th, right? 6:30 p.m. over at the Community Center. Okay, so Adam touched on this. Right now, as you know, there's a water line replacement. It is the last section. They put in an old steel water line. It wasn't old when they put it in, but it's been in since the 70s. It's the last section. In the entire rest of the city, it's been replaced, except for this section on Center Street between Main Street and 400 East. So in addition, while we were replacing that, we're trying to think ahead, although maybe we don't think we do as far as these things. One of the things that most irks us in Public Works is to see a brand new road get installed, nice new asphalt, and then the next week after that, somebody comes in and digs it up because there's a water leak or something. So we're trying to get out ahead of that, and that is why we're doing this work in Center Street right now in preparation for the road work. So at the same time, we're not just replacing that water line, we're also upsizing it. We have a water master plan, and this is one of those lines that eventually would need to be upsized, so we're taking advantage of this time in construction rather than doing it later to upsize that line to better serve the community from now to the future. And we did it we bid this out. We have not done this in the past, but we bid it out so they could work on it over the winter, both on Canal Drive and on Center Street, and we got really, really good prices. We saved the city a lot of money by doing it that way. For example, we bid out the Canal Drive project last year in the summer, and it was so much money, we decided to hit pause and roll the dice and do it during the winter, which typically is not a great time to do construction projects. And it came in as half as much money, which was millions of dollars. So we really, we also got great prices on this work in Center Street. So once again, we appreciate your patience. Trent. And this, of course, is where the water line is. That north, the one going up, down on the screen is Main Street. And then Center Street is the one going east-west, which you all know a lot about that. So the solid line is where they're replacing and upsizing the main line and putting in new services along that as well to your homes. And that dash line is where the water line was previously already large enough and in good shape, and they're just going to be installing new services along that. So once again, so we don't have to dig it up once the water line is installed.
Can you explain more about what that means, installing new services?
Yeah, so the water line, the main line that is running in the street is owned and maintained by the city. It's the larger pipeline, and we're upsizing that from an 8-inch diameter to 18-inch diameter. So it's quite a big upgrade. And then 16-inch running down Main Street. But when we're talking about services for your house, it connects to that line, and then there is a smaller, in the old days it would have been galvanized or copper, and now we're replacing it with plastic. And that is, in many cases, it's a 1-inch line that runs over, and then it goes to the meter that's in your yard, and we're replacing the meter as well with this project. You need any more? Does that make sense? It's where you get your water, but you're hooking to the new line. So.
Okay, so
Yep.
There's not a new line from 400 north? That line's good.
From 400 east?
Oh, 400 east?
That line was installed before, but yeah, it's in good shape. We've looked at that, and it's already the larger size. And they did that on a previous, probably, and I wasn't here at that time, probably when they dug up your road the last time and made your life misery. It might have been, I don't know if it was with the trail or not. You'd know better than I, but yeah, it was upsized already. Okay, so when we first contemplated, I should say when the city council first contemplated doing this, and if I say we, you'll just know it's really the city council. I just take my direction from them. But they decided that they wanted to look at finishing off Center Street, meaning, as you know, there are sections, the entire north side is complete. That was completed a few years back, 10 years ago maybe, with the trail along the north side. But on the south side, there are sections where the curb and gutter and the sidewalk are missing. And then, of course, there's an area that's from the existing asphalt or road to where the new curb and gutter would be. So that was kind of like the baseline, bare minimum, what the city council wanted to finish off. Go to the next. And then so you can kind of see that on this is a cross section as if you were looking at the road and cutting it with a knife. I don't know if Trent, you can move your cursor around. Doesn't look like it. Oh, there we go. On the left side of your screen is where the trail is, so that'd be the north side of the road. And then you can see the road. And then that area in the red box is essentially what we're talking about, the curb, gutter, and sidewalk and remaining road. So that was kind of the minimum amount that was going to be installed with this project. So then, we'll flip to the next slide. We went through with the city council in a number of different meetings and discussions looking at all different kinds of ways to not only finish off the road, but also to kind of beautify and enhance it. And so these are the different things that were discussed. These were the things that were not selected when it all came to the end, but we looked at medians. So you may have heard from some of your neighbors, they're going to put a median down the middle of the road, and that's going to make it so we can't turn. And no, that's not happening. So these are the things that are not happening. I see a few looks, so give me the eyebrows. So Hanging baskets was looked at, and that Tony Cook would have liked to have sold all the hanging baskets to the city. He actually, were you going to donate all those, Tony? Okay, all right. So if you would like hanging baskets for your home, no. But you can get those at Cook's Greenhouse, a little advertisement. So hanging baskets were not selected. There are some issues with hanging baskets as far as keeping them watered, and so anyway, went down that path. Planter strips, we looked at doing planter strips, meaning vegetated planters on one or both sides, not selected. Rock mulch instead, because we're trying to save water and making like xeriscape or rock mulch, and trees. So all those things, these were all things that the city council looked at, kind of priced it out. We saw what the ramifications would be. So that's what isn't happening. You go to the next slide, Trent. So this is what is selected, and this is what is going to happen. I'll show you some plans. So they did decide to add additional street lights along the street. And when you come up and look at these maps, and I'll show you on the computer as well, we didn't want 2 rows of soldiers like a landing strip or something with lighting up the entire community. But we did want a little bit more light on there for safety and also to give it some ambiance. So these lights will, and you'll see it on here, there'll be like one at each intersection, and then they'll kind of alternate sides of the street. Okay, so there will be, that's pretty much the only thing that's going to happen on the north side of the street is there'll be some new street lights periodically. They also decided to do bulb outs. So if you're not familiar with that, it's like a choker and we'll show you a picture of what that means, at key intersections. So at Main Street, 2nd East, and then 400 East, and we'll talk a little bit about that and what those look like. That they will have, we looked at different alternatives about putting pavers in there or something, but it'll be stamped colored concrete. And they'll also include some raised planter boxes. So Tony, instead of hanging baskets, there will be some vegetation to kind of beautify these corners. Now, we don't want them so high that drivers can't see around the corner, so they'll be fairly low. But if you've driven along, and we've got some pictures along Main Street in Lehigh, if you've seen some of those planters, it'll be that kind of a feel at those particular corners. And then, which many of you have gotten excited about, I'm sure, is we are also going to be installing a mini roundabout at 400 East. I say excited because every time I mention roundabout, everyone says, not like that one that was on 400 North and 400 East that was the hay bales and the cinder blocks, and I wasn't here back then, but you know what I'm talking about. Everyone looks at me and goes, we're not doing that, and then I hear, and there's one of those darn things up there on Canyon Road in Springville, and we're not doing that either. No. So the one at 400 North, and I wasn't here at the time, but I do know about this. I've heard many, many stories about it. The one at 400 North and 400 East was a kind of a temporary, let's see if this would work, and apparently it didn't work. Okay, so we'll talk about the mini roundabout. You can see what it looks like, but it's going to be a little different than what you're used to. There's a big roundabout down by Walmart. If you've gone around that, we're not talking about that. It's going to look a little different. So we'll show you a picture here in a second.
What will the final width of Center Street be?
Oh, good question. And we'll show you that here too. So if you go to a portion along Center Street right now that has curb and gutter on both sides, that's 44 feet of asphalt. So that's what it'll be. We looked at narrowing it or widening it. Narrowing it has some problems. You can't have on-street parking. No more visitors.
So that'd be great by the elementary schools.
Okay, so that's where the bulb outs come into play, which makes it...
All the way?
No, all the way, no.
If the roundabout didn't work on 4th East and 4th North, what makes you think a roundabout's?
Because the roundabout up there was a bunch of, as I understand it, it was very temporary. It was hay bales and cinder blocks or something like this. It wasn't a permanent installation.
But if it was temporary and they decided it didn't work.
Because it was too small, and we'll get into this a little bit. This one's not going to be much larger, but we'll talk about why it'll work.
What do you call it, mini? What's maximum? What's mini max?
A maximum roundabout?
Well, what's it?
Let's go to England, shall
what are
we?
the
And
dimensions?
multiple lanes.
What are the dimensions?
50-foot diameter? I'm trying to remember. We'll get back to you on that. Okay.
I think it's smaller than that.
Yeah. Okay, can you go to the next slide? These are great questions. If I don't answer them, it's only because I don't know. Yes.
How much room are you gonna have for parking out there. Now it's really narrow. Are you gonna widen it?
So we are not planning on widening Center Street. So if you
No,
think
not-
it's, you were talking where?
When somebody pulls out in front of your house, how much room do they gonna have?
So,
10 feet, 12 feet?
yeah, so it'll be 44 feet, which, Trent, do you want to go back to that cross-section drawing?
So I think Mr. Walker's question may be, when we put in the trail on the north side, the center line
Yep.
that's striped there is not actually in the center of the roadway. It's shifted north, and so, and we know that was so that when we were improving that side of the roadway, that's where the line was at the time, and
Just never got moved.
We didn't want to move it and have some sections of roadway that it's zigzagging. So when this road is completely rebuilt, we will restripe things and move that center line to the center of the roadway.
So what you'll end up with when it's all said and done, because we looked at doing one of those two-way left turn lanes down here, but we opted not for that either. So it'll look like this, and if you see, I don't know if Trent, you can move your cursor around, but you'll have two 12-foot travel lanes and then 10 feet on each side for parking. So there's gonna be some debate like, oh, you should make it wider so I can have more parking, and then someone's gonna say, but if you do that, you're gonna kill kids because it's gonna be way too wide and the people are gonna drive 900 miles an hour, which isn't physically possible, but we're gonna go over, but yeah, so it's always this balance, right? It's a balance of parking versus speed. Like, some people really want to go fast, and most people who live there don't want to go fast, but anyway, so, yeah, you can flip back to where we were. Okay, so this is an example. This isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but this is what we presented to the council of somewhere else that had a bulb out. So this is an example of what a bulb out is. Have any of you been to a community where there's bulb outs? Some people hate them. Drivers don't like them in that it forces you to slow down. So I've driven over one myself before when it got put in because I cut the corner a little too close, and I only did that once because then my rim didn't appreciate it. So you only do it like once or twice, and then you kind of remember. And so what this does, two different things. It slows people down driving, and it makes it safer for pedestrians across because it's not as wide. So it's really a safety thing. It's a safety speed
That looks a
reduction.
lot wider than the one that's on Center Street on 9th East, or the Murdoch Canal. That looks wider than Murdoch Canal, or even 200.
And I couldn't even
200
tell you how wide
The-
this one
the
is. This one
distance
looks,
from one side to the other looks a
Yeah.
lot wider.
this is just an example.
Okay, well, how
So
wide is that?
I have no idea. On this one,
Center-
it'll be 34
Murdoch
feet.
Canal. What's the
Oh,
distance?
I don't know. No, these will be 34 feet on Center Street. So it'll go down from 44 feet down to 34 feet. It chokes down.
Yeah.
I see a hand back here.
Yeah. Is there any possibility that the mailboxes can be on both sides of the street? Because I have to cross the street to go get to my mailbox, and it's a nightmare to get across the street.
I did not know the mailboxes were on just one side of the street. Which side are they on? They're on the south side. Nice. Perfect spot for it. That would not be something that, I don't know if the city has any call on that one, do we, Adam?
We could talk to the postmaster, so the Pleasant Grove Post Office actually has a position as the postmaster there, and they evaluate post office gang boxes, the group boxes, and then individual routes and locations. We can talk with them and see why have they always been on one side of the street? Yeah, I don't know the answer if it could be moved or not, so.
Hey, Trent, I brought a piece of
Okay.
pad of paper. Can you note that down? It's back there on those plans. Maybe just.
We'll have to ask.
Yeah,
and
we can
see.
ask. We may have more pull than you do, or maybe, I don't know what that will require. Never battled the postmaster. Well, then this will be shorter for you to walk across, but I can't guarantee it's gonna be right in front of your house. Yeah, oh, I agree. Yes, sir.
With respect to bulb outs, can you help us understand how they slow traffic down? And also,
Sure.
what's the impact on traffic congestion without a right turn officer?
So the way they slow people down, I don't know if you've driven in an area that has these. So, yeah, so they tend to, if you go on 800 West right now by Pheasant Brook Park, that's not, it's essentially a bulb out. Yeah, it just feels less comfortable. Like, as you're driving along, driver perception is a real thing, and as you're cruising along, it feels narrow, and you kind of feel like, I better slow down. That doesn't mean everyone slows down, because the lane width hasn't really changed. But
you have studies that show that it's.
yeah, and then also, like I said, it does narrow it so there's less crossing distance. Now, quite frankly, at the corners, it is more difficult to make the corner maneuver with those there. There's no going against that. I mean, it is kind of designed that way. Snowplow drivers really don't like these things. I'm looking at Juan, he's all like, hate the bulb outs. So it's this balance, once again, between safety and getting where you want to go fast, and, yes, sir.
If you come in there with a truck and a trailer, you can't make a turn without taking all that whole road, going in the other lane to make a right turn. Left turn, you can do it, but a right turn, that trailer jumps right up over that thing and right across the sidewalk.
So,
That could be.
One thing I would point out too, in this picture, we saw that picture of the cross-section earlier where you have 12-foot lane widths. In this example, those are probably 12-foot lanes right there. So from face of curb to the other face of curb, you have a total of 24 feet. These we're looking at 34 feet, which is about the same width as your regular residential roads here in Lindon. So if you can make that turn from one local residential road to another local residential, it'd be pretty similar in this situation.
We years ago had a speed study, a speed concern on 800 West over on the other side of town in front of Pheasant Brook Park. Is everybody familiar with that park down there? And the neighborhood got together and said, hey, what can we do to put in some traffic control devices on certain roads like 800 West and like Center Street? We have primary emergency response routes that we don't want to put in what we would call active traffic calming devices. So speed bumps is something we would not do on Center Street because it slows those emergency response vehicles. Things like these chokeouts or these bulbs are what we would call passive traffic calming. So they've been shown in studies to actually slow traffic. And I'm picking on the Cooks again. I'm sorry, your dad actually, it was hilarious, on 800 West, came in after we put in these bulb outs on 800 West, very similar to this. And he said, what did you put those in for? I have to slow down when I drive through them. And it works. We did a before and after study, and it actually dropped the average speed by a couple miles per hour. So.
Thanks, Dad.
we all blame Verl. No, it's not because of Verl. It's okay. You want to go to the next one? So this is an example. This isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but I wanted to show you some examples of what planters could look like. This is on Lehigh Main Street. Theirs is like a rock basket. We're not looking to do that. Ours would look more similar to that one there. What's that lower one, where it will be more of either a stamped concrete that looks like brick or some kind of a rock brick type of face. We're still working through the details on that as far as constructability and maintenance. But that's what we're talking about. In these bulb outs, there will be some planters that run parallel to the road.
Just on the intersections.
Just on the key intersections of more major intersections, Main Street, 200 East, and then 400 East. So there's an example that we like the look of. This is in Gunnison, on Gunnison Main Street. So you get an idea. Ours would not probably have trees in them, but would have some lower vegetation. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a few frequently asked questions that keep getting asked to me as people call and hear about this project. So these may be questions you have as well. Okay, the first question I get asked is, hey, that temple, when is it going to be finished? What about the open house? I know no more than you do. I've asked the church. I said, can you help me out here? We're trying to build this road. Thought it'd be kind of nice if it was finished before the temple was finished. And they're like, yeah, we get told from the brethren when it will be done and when they have the open house. So if you've got some pull more than I do, feel free to reach out. Me personally, I think it would be awesome if they waited until school was out. And it won't be this year. I do know it's not ready this year. But I think it would be just grand if it was at least when school is out, because then you aren't going to have, the open house traffic combined with the school traffic, at least you could separate those two a little bit. But once again, I personally have no knowledge of exactly when that's gonna be. It just isn't gonna be today. Anybody else got any more information on that they'd like to share, that they've got a date out of somebody when they like twisted their arm or something? She does. Oh,
Not
okay.
real information, but I've heard that once the outside is done, like the landscaping, then you can usually predict about 1 year.
So 1 year after the church takes it over to do interior finish.
Then usually it's about a year before the inside.
Okay, so, well, I don't know. So we'll wait and see, I guess. Okay, the next question. Oh, do we have something over here?
I've had a little bird tell me they're issuing May 2025.
So we'd like to, Mayor, push that to the end of May when school's out.
And I think that's on the website as well.
So
You know they're about to put the fencing in on the south side.
we're all excited for it to be done, don't get me wrong, but we'd also like the road to be done. We'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, traffic. Everyone always asks me, is there gonna be more traffic once the temple's built? Yeah, obviously.
Huge.
I mean, obviously, it's, anything being built on that field would be more traffic, whether it was houses, a temple, a Walmart, anything there is gonna be, especially if it was like, another Cook's Greenhouse, I mean, the traffic would be off the charts. I'm gonna pick on Tony all night long. So, but yes, there will be more traffic. I don't think anybody, a lot more, yeah, it's gonna be more traffic than is there today. Is it gonna be, some of you may, know what traffic is like at a temple. It's spread out throughout the day.
Starts at 4 in the morning.
So Jay is so it starts at 4 in the morning and goes to 9 o'clock at night, and it
10:30.
10:30 at night. So what I'm saying is, yes, there will be more traffic. No two ways around it.
Certainly, you know about how much.
They did a traffic study and said that, they gave us numbers. And quite frankly, everyone's always like, what are you gonna do about it? And I'm like, I guess we could tell them they're not coming. And everyone goes, so that's the reaction. So it's,
Who did a traffic study?
the church hired an engineer when they did their site plan and then submitted those, and they went through the criteria.
You got any of the numbers?
Not off the top of my head. Trent probably does.
The city council already made a decision.
Yeah.
When they let them build a 50,000 square foot
Yep.
commercial building in the middle.
I think it's 80,000, but yeah.
80,000 square foot, thank you.
Yeah.
Which certainly would produce more traffic.
And I'm not sure if it's a commercial structure. It's not a residential structure. It's a religious structure. But yeah, so they made that decision, and I don't know if anybody in this room liked it or not, but that ship has sailed, right?
Decision is made,
Yeah.
but I think it's a fair question. Besides bulb outs, what are we doing about?
So the church's traffic report said pretty much there wasn't any requirements. So this is more on the city council to say, let's look at ways that, other than building new roads, I don't know, I mean, there really isn't a place to build another road, so realistically, there will be more traffic. It will be spread out compared to if it was some other kind of use, but there will be more traffic. And hopefully, the people who go to that structure don't fly down the road and go crazy trying to make their appointment. Another question I'll answer real quick, increased speeds. Well, so this is the question. If you finish a road off, chances are people, and if it's a long straight shot, looks like Center Street, and if we fix the road to make it all nice and smooth, people tend to drive faster. I mean, we could leave it like it is right now and you wouldn't have these speed issues. When I first became the engineer here, I said they were talking about street maintenance, and I said, well, we could just dig up all the roads and leave them gravel, and then that would slow people down, and they looked at me like I was crazy, like you are right now. So yeah, so we could go back to gravel, and that would slow speeds down. You would wash your car a lot more often, so invest in a car wash. But there will be increased speeds. We're trying to mitigate that, and so bulb outs and the roundabout. And as Adam pointed out, this is a primary emergency response route, so we are limited on the things that we can do, because the last thing you would all want is, if it's the ambulance or the fire truck, to then say, he's got to cross. You've ever been down Carterville Road in Provo? How many of you enjoy driving down Carterville Road? It's slow, but if you were the one had your arm chopped off or something, and then the ambulance couldn't get to you for 15 minutes because they were going over the speed bumps, you probably would be like, man, these speed bumps are really annoying now. So it's the trade-off. Yep.
Can they put a stop sign at least up by the church house or something? Because when they opened up the canal road and did that, they checked it for a month. You know, there's a speed thing up there. We see them going 42, 50 miles an hour, and that's up the road.
I've got a secret to tell you. What we have learned from those speed signs, those who want to not speed, it's a help. And those who don't care, it doesn't really make a difference after a little bit.
But that doesn't help us.
So what will you be doing from an engineering perspective to monitor speeds, monitor volume, and propose, are there other proposals that we've chosen not to do that could be in future proposals?
And I'm going to turn to our traffic expert. We can monitor.
Expert's a very generous term. Like what Adam was saying, on these primary emergency routes, we're limited to passive traffic calming techniques. So in addition to the bulb outs and to the mini roundabout, one other thing that we can look at is changing the lane striping. I know that sounds a little crazy, but there is a lot of studies that show that making lanes narrower does tend to make drivers feel a little more restricted and therefore slows them down a little bit. That cross section we looked at showed 12-foot lanes. We don't have to stripe it that way. We can look at striping it with even down to 10-foot lanes, which we have lots of those throughout the city right now. And obviously, we do have an in-house traffic counter, and we're actually getting ready to order a few more that will be a little easier to deploy. And so we will have plenty of opportunity to check speeds and to see if any other additional traffic calming is warranted.
The city is actually, we have an older speed trailer that we've put out throughout the city from time to time. We've budgeted this year to actually purchase another one, and the city council approved that. And so our police department has been able to move that around town and help educate people of their speeds. They are patrolling those areas from time to time. It depends on their workload and their calls in other areas, and so they'll prioritize that traffic control as they can. Something that we haven't mentioned as far as these chokers we're looking at on those 3 main intersections. Further to your comment, somebody mentioned about putting some sort of traffic calming around the intersection by the chapel. And we aren't looking at a stop sign, but just up from that on the very east end of the church, the parking lot there will be another bulb out connection and a crosswalk installed there as overflow parking. And so there would be another bulb out there at that location that, again, it's shown to statistically help reduce traffic speeds. So.
So some of those are these areas where we already have some at 500 East. So that one will remain. We'll show you on the plans here in a sec. There are some additional locations with bulb outs, but as far as brand new ones, it's really those main intersections. There is actually another area along the straightaway between, what is that, 725 and 630 East, where we kind of narrows down a little bit more as well. Kind of a lot, and that was partially to save a bunch of really large mature trees along there. So we're trying to keep things. Yes.
So, the intersection on 2nd East and Center Street is just a 2-way stop right now. Is it going to turn into a 4-way stop once all this is done?
We are not planning on making that a 4-way stop at this point.
Is that because it's an emergency?
So typically, you stop so you have major and minor legs. So your major traffic movement obviously is on Center Street. And then you stop that. We stopped to put a 4-way stop at, well, I'm not going to say it's a 4-way stop. I've heard from the Romrails that it's a 4-way suggestion at 400 East. We suggest you stop, but nobody does. So that's why one of the reasons we've also looked at the roundabout there is because apparently the 4-way stop isn't really stopping people. And typically roundabouts are, we'll get to you in a second, are. So traffic lights are incredibly expensive and are typically, at least all the traffic lights right now in Lindon are owned and maintained and operated by UDOT. So there's like another, and you also have to do what's called a warrant study, typically in order to be able to get a traffic light. So
Well,
anyways,
even
far
for a
back to,
four-way stop, you need to get a, but there's a federal standard that you have to go through a whole study, and you have to look at the volumes that are entering on all four legs. You have to look at crash history and things like that, so.
but at 400, it will no longer be a four-way stop. It'll be a roundabout, which should actually improve traffic through there at times, meaning it'll slow it down, but you can actually, if you've driven a roundabout, get through there, rather than people who just don't see anybody coming, so they blow through it.
So I have my doubts about that. I drive that intersection every day to do the school pickup, and I could, anyway.
Good for you.
I don't know that the roundabout is gonna be that great. Is it a done deal? This is just to inform us? There's nothing that we do or say that's
So,
gonna change?
so this is an informational meeting. I'm not gonna say it's a done deal, like nothing's gonna change, because as we look through like individual property issues, some of those things, but as far as the design, the major design of the road,
It's been voted on by the city.
it's been voted on by the city council, so, and those happened, there were multiple public meetings. This meeting really is just, once again, to thank you for your patience, let you know what's coming, so that you don't get blindsided, more or less. So what is the status of photocop? If you ask my daughter, who went to England for a year and a half period of time, somewhat effective, and everyone hates it. So, and I'll be honest with you, how do I put this? The people in this room would probably be the ones that would least like it after a time, as we've seen in other areas when we start enforcing an area. It's usually those people that are right along there that end up getting more tickets. But that may slow things down. So you may be coming back and saying, get rid of that dang photocop. So
But a roundabout's kind of designed to not have to stop, and so.
it's
there's
designed to slow people down,
but not stop.
not necessarily stop, but you do have to stop if someone else is already
But it's like
in there.
safetiness for the kids that are walking.
Yeah.
So we can go over that. This actually has also been shown to make it safer because it's not going through the middle of the intersection. They're actually, as you can see right here, they're kind of spaced out.
We have a roundabout near our house in St. George, and I find it really hard to.
As a driver or as a pedestrian?
To cross that road.
You've got lots of kids.
And is it a small, is it this small, or is it, I mean, a much larger road? We can keep going, but,
So we can show them
fair
photos
enough.
of what it looks like.
All right, moving on. Who's paying for this? We covered, do we have?
Oh, there's one more question maybe, so.
I had a question
Yep.
about the roundabout. How does the roundabout affect heavy traffic in a single direction? If you have constant traffic in a single direction, as opposed to a four-way stop, there's no way for the cross traffic to ever get into the intersection.
Yeah, so you're asking if you can ever get across on 400. So this one, and what we're seeing, traffic from Orem or along 400 East will also increase over time. So this is the one location that this seemed to make sense, is because it's more balanced. That's just what we're seeing, is that probably over time, you're gonna see even more traffic going north-south through that particular intersection, so.
Why not put mini roundabouts at the other four-way stops on Center Street? Why not use it at all of them? Is it just a cost?
It is partially a cost, it's also spacing on that, and quite frankly, we're trying it out at this location. All the research says it'll work well, but before we throw all of our eggs into one basket and do it on these other intersections, we're gonna see how well it turns out here. And if it totally fails and we were all wrong,
Rip it out?
we'll rip it out.
Four-way stop?
Okay,
Go on.
I'm gonna keep trying to go here.
Yeah, I think a lot of your questions will be answered as he continues. He has some photos and things to show you.
Okay, so one other question we keep getting asked, but Adam already went over this, which is who's paying for this? And that is not you. It's the city.
It is them.
It is you, but what I'm saying is it's not, we're not coming through with an SID, which is a special improvement district, and then saying you have this much frontage and this is your proportionate share, that kind of stuff. you're paying for it through,
General taxes.
Yeah. Okay, so when's it gonna be finished? This is a big question. We are finalizing the design right now. We wanted to have this meeting first in case something came out of this. And then we're working with our consultant and planning on bidding this out in the next few weeks. And then it'll probably be a few weeks after that when we'll receive bids. And then starting construction almost immediately thereafter. As far as it being finished, that will be determined well, I guess I should say, if prices come in too high, we'll have to have this discussion with the city council. Can the entire thing be finished at once? Can only a portion be finished? The intention is to build it all as quickly as possible, but this is a large project and will take probably into next year, realistically. So the idea, hope, is to have it finished for whenever the temple's finished. We were kind of waiting on them to do some of their stuff as well, because we didn't want to have their larger vehicles beat up a new road. So it's this kind of dance back and forth.
And just as an FYI, I think some people have a perception that the city is actually the one with the machinery and the equipment building these roadways. That's not the case. And so we actually bid out these projects, and private contractors then give us proposals and bids. And we are obligated for something of this size to take the lowest bid. And so we don't know who that contractor will be yet. But it will be something that we review and evaluate and vet them and their company, and then we award a bid to that low bidder if they're qualified and meet all of our requirements.
Yeah, lowest qualified bidder. So it's just not the lowest guy that throws his bid in, but yeah, he can pull it off. The question is, how about the safety of the contractors? So explain.
They're breaking OSHA rules.
Oh, you're saying, so they're not, you're talking about the ones that are out on Center Street right now? Let's talk afterwards and we can regroup on that. If you're seeing things, we don't want them to be unsafe for their own sake or anybody else, so.
What we can do is we typically collect references. Usually when they submit bids, they'll have to submit, hey, you can call this city and this city, and as a reference. And if their references don't come back very good, then we do have the ability to reject them, even if they are the lowest bidder.
I
So.
think, for example, they broke a bunch of water pipes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just see how well the rest of this project turns out if they get a favorable recommendation. But anyway, okay, moving on. Okay, main question is, you may all be asking, which we've talked about, is how does this affect you, right? So we've talked about inconvenience, we've talked about the road, you've already been dealing with some of this. It's not finished yet, it's not gonna necessarily get worse, but it will be inconvenience. It'll be dirty, be some dust, and we'll try to mitigate that as much as possible, but once again, we thank you for your patience. How does this affect you in the end? We're hoping that you're seeing that the city is using funds to make this a better place to live by improving the road. We hope that you can see and look past maybe this is going to be, and as we get into like how does this strictly affect me, many of the driveways on the south side of the road, your houses are lower than the street, and so there's going to be some work that has to be done to tie your driveways in, or maybe relocating something, or maybe your fence is going to have to be relocated or something. Please see the bigger picture, which is this may not be exactly what you want, which is no change at all, but let's just fix the road to say, okay, in the end, this is better for everybody. So we're all kind of all in this together, and please look at it that way, because we really do think this will be a better thing for everybody and when it's over. Does that make sense? Okay.
Sorry, there's other impacts certainly, right?
Meaning,
You mentioned not widening the road, but the road isn't the same width all the way up Center Street, so
Right.
you will be taking some people's property and adjusting some.
yeah, so good point. So there are about 10 property owners whose present existing property runs out into Center Street. So, and we will meet with those individuals one by one and kind of go over what that means. But yeah, there are about, like I said, about 10 different properties because of where the sidewalk will be versus where it isn't right now. For those property owners, I don't know if you know this or not, but you are paying taxes, property taxes on property that's out in the road presently that you essentially are not getting any value for. So if nothing else, this cleans that up so you're not continuing, and it's probably not a large amount every year, but you're paying property tax on essentially roadway already.
So that's one, certainly one situation, but there are other situations where you'll be taking frontage, changing the setback. Are any of those setbacks gonna be under code?
So if there are exist areas where the road comes in and the right-of-way line is changed, so essentially it's less than would be required for a new house now, it's what is called existing non-conforming.
Right.
So
Are you
it just
creating
is what it is.
existing non-conforming properties?
There, I can think of at least one that's probably existing non-conforming right now that will not get any better. But we have tried to honestly mitigate those and not put and in some areas we've had to play with the road width and things, so we aren't putting a driveway, or the curb and gutter or the sidewalk right on the guy's porch, right?
I just didn't want you to make it sound like the only thing you were doing.
No, and I said, we can get into the nuts and bolts with that. We have some plan sets that kind of show essentially move this fence, lose these shrubs. I mean, there's gonna be some impacts like that, for sure.
Let's keep going, let's keep going.
Can you go to the plans? We're gonna be here all night. This is great. No, keep going. Pull the plans. Just hit escape and get out of that one. Since I think we've done all that. Yeah, there. And then you're gonna wanna, bring that over and then blow it up. Oh, cool. That looks like the Tetons, and if we can make it look like that somehow through this project, that'd be great. So what we're seeing on the screen here is the same thing that you're seeing here on these tables. So presuming we get through this presentation, then you guys can look at the plans. So we're just gonna go down and quickly highlight. This is Main Street. So this project is really long, so we kind of broke it into several strips, 3 strips along here. So. North is up. North is up. Can you all see? I'll get out of the road. So the red little star is a street light. And you can see bulb outs there at Main Street. Keep going down. So really, we've already talked about the highlights as far as the bulb outs in certain areas. We've talked about the roundabout. You can see on here that blackened. So it sounds like we're probably ready just to look at plans. Is that what I'm hearing? He's like, I'm hearing a rumble over here. So I think I'm done, which I'm good. Do you want to keep going? I mean, I'm good to be done because I don't like talking to my kids either. So if you guys are like ready to be done, we can just go to the maps, which I'm cool with.
I want to hear everything you have to say.
Okay.
Any more questions?
What do you mean, ready to be done?
So like me, stop talking, Jay, so that you guys can come look at maps.
Get the answer.
So that's the roundabout. You can see there's going to be some medians. Trent, do you want to pull up the picture of what a mini roundabout looks like? There we go. So this is an example, well, not the exact same, from a mini roundabout in Minnesota, okay? And this one, they happen to have 2 that are very nearby. But what we wanted to point out to you here is what that center island looks like. So these mini roundabouts, a passenger car will find it more comfortable just to drive around the outside. But if you're driving a bus, or your fifth wheel, or a semi-truck, or a moving truck, it's designed to cut across the middle. So you actually turn right across the middle island. So this is why it's significantly different than the one that was tried and failed up on 400 North, 400 East, because that one had something in the middle that you could not drive over, or were not supposed to drive over. Most roundabouts, you don't want to drive over the middle. You have that truck apron. This entire thing essentially in the middle is a truck apron. So these are fundamentally different than the roundabouts you've seen. In fact, this will be probably the second in Utah. There's one going in right now in Spanish Fork. These are fairly new to Utah. They've been used other places, but they just haven't kind of made their way here. So that's kind of what that middle island looks like. The islands, however, on this one in Lindon will be raised. So the one we were just looking at the picture of, they were flat as well. But these medians, as you come in to each leg of the intersection, are raised, except for a plowable end section. So, and you'll see planters are on that as well. I don't know if there's anything else necessarily that we need to go over. Oh. Yeah, and Heath, also, you want to go back to the crosswalk issue there? Pick any one of these bulb outs. So that's 6:30, there's 7:25. We are somewhat constrained at 7:25 because he's not here tonight, but the homeowner there at that corner of 725 and Center, if we were to widen it out, it would really be really negatively impact. So it actually is narrow down to 34 feet all the way to the temple from 725, which is where the junior high is. This is an older aerial, so this is not showing the church's plans for the temple, but there is a crosswalk as well that goes over on their plans, that goes over with bulb outs to the existing church for overflow parking.
But part of the temple's site plan, they included no parking signs at our request along the street, just in front of the temple itself.
Because it's narrower there.
There's technically.
Right, yeah, and so the church has already, with the temple construction, improved and finished their portion of the roadway, which you've noticed. So that will not be affected, will not be done with this project at all. Yep.
On that roundabout, you mentioned raised planters. Do those raised planters affect the traffic flow, or are they just beautification?
So they are just, if you can go back to that, they are just the same as the ones on the bulb outs, where they're actually in the bulb out, but not in the roadway, if that makes sense. They are.
Not the median.
Right, yeah. They're not in the median is raised, like 6 inches to keep a car from going across that. Just a curb.
And to slow down cars that's why you have kind of the curvature.
Yeah, and that you can notice it's got some kind of funky curves through here. It's to direct the cars so they can't sail straight across the intersection.
Where does the trail go through the roundabout?
Great question. We were just discussing that ourselves. So the trail right now, as you know, goes straight across. It'll go up and then go through right there and back down. Because there's not other safe way, unless you're riding a bicycle and you're not on the trail and you want to run through the roundabout like a vehicle, then, yeah, but if you're on a stroller or something.
Where's the right of way when cars are running the roundabout and people's going up and down the trail?
Yeah, so the trail will be separated from the roundabout by going to the north. Yeah. Okay, are we ready to break? You can come and check out the map and talk to us if you've got specific questions about your property. That's what we're going to do. Yep, and we will get together with those that have property issues as far as right-of-way. If you haven't had a chance to sign in, there's the sign-in sheet over on this table. So if nothing else, then take a look at the plans. If you haven't had a chance, same as you're up here. Thanks.
And all 4 tables have the same maps, so.
Sail through, well, for one thing, that median is directed, so if you try to go straight,
Yeah, I understand.
try to just drive over.
Okay, when I try to cross up here. Letting out, and, yeah. I don't cross there.
Yeah,
I'm seeing issues and I'm seeing
yeah, when school lets out,
it's a mess.
I came in staff. How much we have.
But with the way it works out just
And how, twice a day.
Let's see. North right now is pointing your way. Is that you right there then? This is Royland.
Yes, from Royland. Oh, Roylands, that's right.
Don't ask me if anyone else's name. Yeah. We've gone to just one standard street light.
I was thinking, because you were there, so
I'm trying to think, if you were to go to any
You would not have to.
yeah, that's the idea. These, they don't have glass around them. They just put, so you have like kind of like a light recessed out of the top part of it. Yeah, and I don't know the specifics of how like dark sky are, but that was a discussion we haven't talked about yet, usually, so.
see how many of those.
Well, I think it'd be pretty similar to what it is now. What you saw in that cross section where it had the 12-foot lanes and 10 foot. During construction. Typically when we have projects like this, there may be short periods where you can't get down, but for the most part, when we have these, contractors are really good at. Right now, when you see the plans, they show that down the it's not what we
This is lost for me.
Our intent is to keep that 10 foot to the crosswalk. We actually just today asked our designer to look at that. Required. At least just for those two. See that little corner right there?
Get a calling.
Everything that's slowing down the road. This roundabout is going to help a lot. Yeah, and we talk about like, oh, why don't we just throw stop signs? There have been some sites that show, oh, don't necessarily slow you down. Some instances, like, speed up. I mean, yes, you stop right at the stop sign, but then people tend to get frustrated from that. Stop, they I've seen that myself in the town next to where I grew up.
So much. I got in an accident in a roundabout because the guy was driving during sunset because sun was in his eyes and he just went straight through without a and I just don't trust them when they're supposed to go. So I end up waiting forever so everybody else can go around the circle
They're an acquired taste and they take some learning, but if, in theory, if everyone does it right, they're great. But if everyone does it right,
you can do a little educating in the newsletter or something.
yeah. Yeah, maybe we need to put like an instructional video how to drive through roundabout on our website or something.
It's not a bad idea.
So we currently have, a light in front of our house, a street light.
Okay.
It's not on here, so I guess it's gonna.
Whereabouts? Is that one of those, it's on like a wooden pole? Yeah.
And then there's like a wire going across the street.
Yeah, the idea would be get rid of the less aesthetically pleasing ones, replace with.
So would that be replaced with one of these new ones, or would they just take it out and have that one instead?
The idea is wherever you see someone's, that's what we're gonna do. Because there's existing ones that are like that one, we might try to take it out. Well, a lot of people don't want the light on their house. They might want it on the street and sidewalks, they don't want it on their house shining in the bedroom. They're gonna be down. That's our new standard.
It's like the contractors right now have used a lot of water. That's been a frustrating thing. Definitely for all the people who have had to use water. Yes.
It depends on the contractor. So we have two separate water lines going on. So there's the Canal Drive. Yeah. So that could be.
I've had multiple outages where we have this contractor.
If they were to put us as a reference.
I always pause when I go through it just because people see that it's messed up.
Maybe. And the other, yeah. Yeah, the other thought that I have is we'll have fresh
It's really bad.
These plants, other than the striping, here they don't show any striping. That's what we're gonna do that in-house. The striping. By the way, so these sticky notes, markers, they're here if you have suggestions or if you see a red flag of something that we missed. Feel free to.
I'm curious about the plans for the school elementary property. Supposed to be buying this.
I'm really curious. I'm interested in that because we have that school crossing right there. Now, but if we could go away, I would rather. Right now, they kind of have to share that, and I think Timpanogos doesn't particularly care for that. It seems like Timpanogos is like there.
It is annoying,
Have them
yes,
move
my
there.
kids go there, yeah. That would be great, but.
And we're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what the outside school district decides to do.
Our son should be driving our dog every day. She's got driving in
They go really fast.
the road's already wide and it's just a little smaller and it slows it down.
I saw it, I drove by that day, so I.
Yeah.
Nice, you're back.
Yeah. Before we stop, take off the road unless it's like middle of the night. So right now, where it is a four-way stop, they tend to have to slow down anyway, so that it should be pretty similar as far as response times.
Okay, better. Is there anything else you're looking at?
So the curve, it's not going to be high like a typical. It's the It's enough that, you know, a big vehicle, if they have to make a wider turn like that, go over it, it's not a big deal. If you were to try to zoom over it, it's not gonna be very comfortable. Like, and not very much. Less than 6, if I remember right. I think to where the center, I think it's a different zone. But it's not an abrupt fight.
It snows outside out here.
So those would be kind of more 6-inch.
I just hope the kids will follow the trail when they go. I think the company's on the They're bringing it across the street this year. Yeah.
If they get used to seeing cars just constantly going around.
We can look into that. I'd say write that on the
The
biggest problem, yeah, the biggest problem.
Yeah, the drivers need to stop.
Yeah, those are all right there.
I think it does.
The good news is you can stop. You're crossing the street. You can make sure no one's coming. Keep going.
Yeah, that's true.
You're crossing this way.
Right.
This way to make sure nobody's coming. And then look this way to make sure nobody's coming.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know where your property line is. I think that's about right. Yeah, you're definitely wider than these guys over here. Are those pine trees on your property?
They're just barely on this side of the property.
Reading
That's your driveway. Your driveway, yeah. You got your little rock beds here and your nice little trees.
Yeah, the idea is we try to put them right on a property line, so it's not someone's yard. Yeah. The way we threw these on here is just kind of trying to even the space. But yeah, I think ideally we should just not the green ones like you see in horror. No, I wish I had a picture. Not terribly tall. I think they're more like 14. Yeah, which is kind of standard for a street. Not huge, but. I know, I'm trying to think. If you go to any brand new neighborhood that we have in town, you'll see there would be one installed. The yellow's just striping, so yeah, we're thinking that, you know, we'll have a yellow stripe going all the way down. We haven't designed the striping yet, other than what's around the roundabout. So that striping is there to start directing you here, so you don't run into that median. And that median's there to help slow you down before you get to the roundabout. Not quite, that's kind of an older style that we have, but it's kind of along the same lines.
So it's just gonna go straight up and have a
Lamp recessed up at the top, shining down.
Oh, she will, she will.
Oh, yeah, you need to, so there's not gonna be any arms sticking out.
I can, it's really nice.
We should look into that. Have red and green.
Yeah.
It is, well, it's like I was telling her, like with everyone getting upset, it's like, the time to be upset was a year ago when they were talking about this. Not now. The milk's been spilt.
Yeah, that's another style. So it won't have the arm.
Ours isn't.
Will there be
Not
anything
this one
that,
and not that one.
will there be anything that blocks the light going to the houses, like a solid thing on the light?
Typically no, but I think it's an option. We don't put those in unless
There's
someone.
a picture, a map of how far it's going to go.
Depends on where the light is.
I'm just wondering how big it is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is similar. Again, this is still an older style. But that one has glass and the light will shine everywhere. Instead, you wouldn't have the glass everywhere. You'd still have that cage sort of thing, the black. But then the light itself would be up in the top, just shining down. So you would have
Be a bit of a cage, like the top, and the light shining down. Yeah, so we have that light that we have right here.
We've already talked to him about it. It's like, it's, either way, it's not great, but it is, again, we should have been coming to city council meetings a year ago.
The power line also snakes through these trees.
It gives us an excuse to do some other things, which would be nice, I think.
or is that only for the street light?
We just have to move our garden, we're, you know, it doesn't.
I'd love it if they didn't talk about trees though, it makes
Yeah.
me a little nervous.
I think we're gonna do some raised
Yeah,
beds.
it was,
So when we say garden, it's not a.
Is that our waterline contract?
It's not big right now,
yeah, there was a power pole right here that snapped it up.
It'll be a salsa garden.
I had to replace the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about that today, where I want to put some.
Yeah, they blocked off everything from here to here. Yeah, it was, so this is ours, this is our neighbor, and the pole was like right here.
I used to catch it with my brother. My brother-in-law, my sister's 13 years
Pictures at least a year or two old.
I am a staff engineer,
Set you
so
off, yeah.
city engineer and the other.
The other engineer, second hand man.
Yeah, assistant to the city engineer. No, can't afford it. I actually live out in Eagle.
I grew up in Provo. I grew up in Provo. Lindon spoken a few times,
Yeah.
but had never really known
Appreciate it.
Everything else, I won't bring up the friends. But I really don't.
If we could just get someone to invent flying cars.
Put it in and it doesn't turn out as well as we evaluate.
Don't take it from her, dog. Don't take it from her.
Oh, right there.
You get what? And then I got yelled at.
Okay, I'll put, Keith Peters, Keith Bateman.
And he was talking about how
He's the one that takes care of the parks.
I think this one.
Because they now have a new machine that has a sweeper.
Sidewalk.
So they can.
Side.
Well, heads around the whole place.
Yeah, Keith Peters, Bateman. He's the one that,
They did take out our beds and today. We have some pictures.
on the street.
We're like, please.
Yeah, what do you want to see?
We don't care about ours.
We just planted those trees.
This medium, that's drivable. Cause like our driveway's right here, so I'm gonna turn left.
That's a good point.
Somebody mentioned that our
Right there.
Yeah, I mean, the other option there was to put them on another, there was like about 50
all
hours, it's all ours.
So it looks like you still have room to, I mean,
We could have on
15 acres.
and change it a little bit for cars.
You might need to just like come out at an angle a bit.
Yeah, or straight would be more of a,
So this won't be slow in this area.
I don't think so. It may have like what we call plow hole. You know, snow plow isn't gonna slant it.
On the north side.
I know he is, but
Not yet, but we've actually talked to the property owner. So I guess he finished his, what used to be a carport, was turned it into extra living space. So he doesn't need his driveway there anymore. So we actually approached him about moving it there. He's like, sounds good. It's impossible for me to get out onto Center Street anyway, so this.
So if he wants to go left, he'll just have to.
Yeah, and honestly, if it was less traffic and I live there, I'd probably just do that. Just not tell anybody.
Nobody's coming, just sneak through, yeah.
And the temple, it's gonna add to that, but I used to live pretty close to the base of the temple before I moved out to Eagle Mountain. And use that road that goes there to that temple every day. That's true, when you have,
Hopefully once we have open, I'm just saying.
there will be. It's certainly not gonna be any more vehicles right now during school drop off. Oh, up in Rocky Mountain.
Hey babe, let's go home.
kids, is that what you're about?
And imagine you have the same issue at Tippecanoe, because, you know, any charter school usually has a lot of parents probably. So that is driveway. So, for example, if you look at this driveway, well, actually the north side's not good either. Any of these other driveways that don't have a darker shade, that means that their elevations are good enough that we can tie it into the road pretty good. Your driveway is probably down kind of lower, so plus side is you get a new driveway paid for by the city, but we would have to, slope it up a little bit so that you can match the new elevation of the road. And it shows like a cut line back there. It may be that we just go all the way. Or, if it makes sense to leave it back there, then we leave it back there. But, I mean, we want to, yeah, we'd have to take it out, but we want to make sure when we put it back, it's still. This driveway? Yeah. So you can see how so that means in this case, the existing driveway is down lower than where the new road is. So in order to tie the two together, we have to basically tear out the existing driveway, slope it, and then tie into the new.
I wonder what it be.
There's a handful. Gravel to tie in, so you can't blame them. Tell them, hey, you put it in. These are sticky, aren't they?
So do you know the width?
We'll make a note in these that you have, there's some way to make it.
I thought that little chunk section, like this is a car coming in.
Crosswalk would be 36 feet across.
I think. We have, they don't have the dimensions on it, but we do have the full plan that would show that. If you really wanted to get down that deep.
You want to be able to turn these.
Potential for, if they want to keep it 10 foot out,
Where I always come to this, but I guess.
it'll go into our property and so we have to have this.
Yeah, and if we did that, we're only looking at taking it just not across that. Basically just to maintain that trail width, all the way.
You don't want to kill kids. Like my kid's pregnant this year, so I don't want to kill
One thing I've wondered is if, to minimize the impact from there, is can we just,
walk down the sidewalk.
concrete there, can we just have that be part of the sidewalk? I know it's possible. That'd be enough.
It's also just so I know where we have to move our fence line to, because we installed a fence or Monty.
I met with him and when we were looking at the fence.
That was interesting. But, yeah.
When they started chatting, I'm like.
Slightly, but we were told one area first and then we don't get the back, so we need to put another 6 feet.
Good job, Noah. Good job.
It's just kind of interesting, because like,
Next time, give a little.
And it seems like your fence permit was coming through. It seems like that was really close to the time when we were, if we weren't gonna.
yeah, the timing was, yeah. And when we originally did it, so we lined our fence line up.
This could have been discussed before the milk was spilled.
Those have a fence.
I look at the city council agenda.
I don't think they're gonna be that big.
Look at it, I do it here,
So
so it's like,
they're not working.
but I don't look at it every day.
You look at those. How are you?
I know they're good. How are you? It happens all the time.
Vertical.
I was planting plants inside. The sun rays still get through to me.
Whatever you want outside.
Yes, so now
If you wanted to, you should go to.
Wait, what?
The county has a website where you can go to the park.
Tony?
He's got a lot more cool jokes.
Jake Hoyt was the Young Men's program, was over here, Steve Stewart.
And that's what they said, when they told us we needed to move our fence, they said, hey, you need to move it 3 feet. It's the aerial image shows that your property line is actually, and so that was 3 feet from the Dowdles fence. So technically, I realized the Dowdles fence is even more different. But then they came back with 6 feet or 10 feet. And we were in the time.
Play pickleball again. Hey, set on the pool table.
Yep. Good. Front doors on this side.
Sure, I like this idea. Let's get you on the council.
I lost a lot of street.
So people always come
Get you on the council.
and
It's good. I like it.
we put in gravel on this side because we were gonna do it.
This is John's MO.
It's gonna be
I've
great.
known John, like I said, for a long time.
With the setbacks and everything.
Fort Knox did the same thing, like, we were doing this together, and then he's one president, like, he's one of his counselors, like, he
I
was
called dibs on him,
like,
because I
if I'm gonna suffer, John's gonna suffer.
3 years.
I can tell you my favorite story about John Scouting. We go to Clyde, he knows what story I'm gonna tell. We go to Clyde Derby, we're up at Mapleville, middle of the night.
Plans
One of our
change.
scouts goes,
Never an end of
Especially for a home.
I'm worried it'll go away. I'm having a bad dream, and John rolls over in the sleeping bag, mind you, mummy bag, elbows me. Boom, Gordon, wake up, man. Derek threw up. Not my guy. He's over the teachers, and I'm over the deacons, and I'm like, so I have to get up. Like bone chills. The kid's got puke all over everybody.
He was sleeping in an official scout, Long John,
Okay.
Happened at Girl Scout, and we were the Miami leaders, and we, for some reason,
Yeah. The morning and evening traffic is brutal.
it wasn't
Pretend
too
we're
bad, they
asleep.
cleaned it up.
It works for our husbands, let's just pretend we're sleeping.
But then I'm up at Steiner. I'm like, kind of, it's still, and I get rough. I have eyes and something is wrong. And there's a scout leaning over me.
I had to go out there at 4:30.
And I'm like, can I help you? Like, I don't know who it was. He's like, I just threw up.
Took me 45 minutes to get out
What
there.
do you? And I'm like, I'm thinking later, I should have given him a or something, but I'm like so out of it. I'm like, he's like, where do you work? I'm like, here's a tube, you know, put it on and I'm like so out of it though. I feel terrible. Well, it was at Steiner, which is like the highest camp in like the continental United States. It's over 10,000.
follow the freeway a little
And
bit.
they have these
Yeah,
weird
Lion Energy.
three-sided
So
cabins.
my office is right next to it.
I used to work for here.
Three sides.
Okay.
Yeah, he threw up inside, man. Outside. At least it wasn't on anybody else either, but man, talk about freaking me out. Middle of the night. Oh, yeah. It's like changing someone else's diapers. It's not cool.
I've cleaned up a lot of throats with you.
He's like, oh,
Do you want to clean up throat once or twice?
This is gonna
be raised? Or is that gonna be like that slope?
John,
You can't do it?
Can drive over.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just start dabbing.
She does
You're
the,
close.
like,
takes together.
when it gets outside of a contained area.
Projectile
Oh,
vomit.
it was like,
Probably only had once or twice in all my years throw up on the floor. Our kids always make it.
They make it in the
Well,
toilet?
either
Or
they
it's just when they
do
sit up in
or,
bed and just like, you're like,
well, it's usually we get,
you go like,
we hear it early enough that it's usually, they make it because we're like holding them, rushing, running into the.
He's in charge of
This is kind of where I think it was.
If I hear this, nothing wakes me up faster.
And I guess like,
dry heaves.
then you gotta put something like cinder blocks or something, right?
Batman.
Some type of If.
Good job.
It's allowed.
Looks good.
I know we've had some.
Why can't we put
say,
pressure on
is
the
there no way we could put like Center Island spice? If you're okay with it,
pressure on the temple, to have the temple. Up by children, have the temple where the temple belonged.
whenever
The
something.
temple wanted to be in the middle of the
The temple wanted to be on the Alpine field, coming off Second South.
coming home. Bruce Bartlett showed me the
See you guys. See you now.
Get the documents ready for school
Pick up
from the
the,
sun and the church.
you know, I saw a bunch of buses, but.
I heard the school, I heard the school.
I think they wanted too much money, I don't know what it was.
That's what the church back out. Their demands were too high. Yeah, but you had, how can you have that big
Definitely
box?
need to count the buses in our design.
and
They have two accesses.
Off Center Street, that's not two accesses, that's.
See, the other thing by fire code, it's two accesses.
So one here, and 200 feet away from another,
Two entrances off of Center Street.
that's two accesses.
So look, I know, in fact, when they announced the temple originally, I was all like, sweet, it's already built, I don't have to do anything, I was like, happy dance, and then they're like, now it's gonna be on Center Street. What's the plan? But it'll make Center Street better.
I'm just wondering. We know that the idea is to help traffic.
I get it.
Speeds, but.
I really wish Alpine School District would have played full thing on, I'm like, wait a minute.
For blatantly, plowing through. I mean, somebody accidentally,
I guess, yeah, you could take them for not yielding.
House and I'm like, sweet, sidewalk.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But I do have to question people, like, they're like, it's gonna be way worse traffic and speed, I'm like, what did you want us to do? Did you want the city council to say, nope, go.
No temple.
No temple, go Packin'? I mean, like, they're like,
I just was like.
no, you should've done this, and I'm like,
you guys been in that house?
Oh my gosh, let's go.
Almost 2 years.
well, thanks for coming in.
September will be
Sorry, no
2
hanging
years.
baskets.
Yeah, that's all right. Holiday City does a lot of really nice baskets.
He's
Got a
concerned
sister lives in Texas right now.
unless we get
Down just outside of Temple.
last a couple of days, so am I gonna have somebody out there?
An hour south of Waco.
Okay,
They have a,
tank sprayer on the back of a 4x4, yeah.
I looked
That
at
was his
side by
concern.
side paint, Temple was way up high.
I get it.
Orange City does that.
Yeah, they actually built it in town just outside of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Brand new house.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
look, Denver Fork does a really good job, like over there by Macy's, all
half the cost of.
just a huge color.
They have a
paint.
front row seat for the clips.
Like it.
We need a consultant, I mean, as far as, get some good color and vegetation, but it can't go too tall.
Sure.
Are we looking at annuals or perennials?
Annuals can give you more pop and more color. Perennials are good for a couple
Did they get
weeks.
too big though?
Annuals depends on what you want.
No, perennials.
Perennials, there's some that just keep growing. But most of your perennials don't give you that nice showing all summer. There's a few that give you daylilies, but they're, your 2 feet. There's some, there's salvias. So there's some perennials. It'd be nice to have some perennial, but then just don't do the whole thing of perennials. Have some get some pop color.
Little shrubs or something, or?
We have to keep it down pretty low because I think that you have to keep it below like 36 inches. So when people, as they're driving their car, you have to be able to see around it.
So perennials and annuals. You're not gonna shrubs. Okay, that house that we're doing, what's the elevation? Where 590? Right up by the Fishers. I'm hoping you say, oh, the driveway's coming.
You're from Springfield, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Contractor.
You can say, hey, we'd like to put the
Foothills, but well, we got a couple of issues. More than that.
You want just the elevation towards the right.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot, Juan.
Yeah.
We are glad we had this meeting.
Sir.
I was like, okay, you go from here.
Caused a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I know, I was so confused at first.
I know, that's what
Where,
we're like,
I don't see where our house is.
Living here.
somebody has to answer this
Wait,
question.
there's a street right behind our house?
Son of a. Get anything worked out with Norton's property? Is that just off in the air? You'd like that street to come down past Pizza and turn? And go?
Yeah, 900 East, which is also.
I haven't.
All
Adam hasn't.
Yeah, it has the same designation.
I wish I could answer
Former
the question.
mayor lived on that street.
Yeah.
We couldn't get it.
What does that tell you?
Why not?
You better be a man, that's right.
I've spent a lot of time in front of the legislature this year. Yeah, a lot. I run the stage a lot.
Well, a few more years and none of us will be here.
That's right. But we got a kid getting it right there.
Hey, it's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
I'll see you
Always.
all the time.
But yeah, they were kind of like, when this lady stands. They moved because of that. Because the city wouldn't do anything to slow the traffic. And after their kid got hit. I don't make.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Tony Cook, you are? And you live on Center? Whereabouts?
Well, we have those radar speed.
You're on the north side, my ward's on the south side, so.
I'm on the. Yeah, I mean, average speed on there was Lime River before they completed.
You're on that, you're on Center.
And won't change the traffic flow at all. After it was like 4X.
Well,
So I don't know who did the traffic study.
what happened is when they went over the canal, it's a downhill thing and those teenagers.
It was a new road. And it's your.
And we haven't been there.
We're renovating it right now.
Our kids are
He's gonna
moving
tell
out,
me
so.
more about the ceiling.
We bought another house and we're moving out, leaving the kids behind.
I think it's a wise idea. I was just telling John Denise, I said, "Go to another house and move my kids out."
So you're moving in there?
We fixed it when we moved here.
We're remodeling a little bit.
We live on Third.
Changing the paint.
Yeah.
We're just moving it.
That's the Nelsons.
So I went to the city.
They approached us, they were in our ward, we can.
Go through, it's the master plan showed us.
Yeah, I've been looking for
She's been looking for years. She's been.
And I kept coming back to the.
Hey, we moved down to Mapleton? I'm spoiled, I just go from here, back and forth from work to home.
In every way, it's bigger. So.
But we still have our.
Your buddy, and then they got bought out, and they're out.
Are you in town center or are you facing?
Rural, it's great.
I have 2 homes there now that sit on that combined.
That little cul-de-sac?
See the,
We were looking at that.
you have Louisiana one cul-de-sac, and then you have Eric Muir down the other.
Erda.
You still don't have any stoplights.
Hey, well done.
Oh, thanks.
No one swore at you, no one threw anything at you?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Juan could take some notes.
Yeah, we're
He
ready
just
to
shakes his head.
Well, we're ready.
That's.
I live out in Eagle now.
So who lives in Lindon?
The schools,
Here's our church.
this is Oak Canyon Road, so this is the
So,
so you're this one.
All right, so somebody wants to talk about the location of the street. We are thinking of tearing that down and putting a house. Moving this power.
Oh, man, I wish we'd moved the power line up here too. This, you know what they did? It's hilarious.
We good?
They,
Hey, fellas.
oh, they did move, but they buried the line under the street and then brought it up the
They brought it
pole.
back up?
Brought it up the pole into our house. I just want, I would pay for it if you asked me.
Very, it didn't cost you anything when you did it? It was a World War II.
To get the cable company to come out. They disconnected it. I didn't catch your name.
Well, I'm Noah.
Noah, nice to meet you. You're the city engineer?
Yep. Cool. How long have you lived in Lindon?
Yeah, we were there. Before the town was built. Lucky us. I keep wanting to, she doesn't want to move, and I don't know.
That was my house.
Really?
Was?
You're Peach.
I am.
You are Peach. Don't you still own this one?
I still own this one.
If you ever want to sell it, I'm your guy.
Who are you?
I live right here.
Oh,
I want your horseback back there.
I had,
I bought my own Richards.
you bought Niles' place, yeah. So I had a whole acre back here.
I know, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. And I was,
Yes, so he bought it, he owned it for about 4 months.
is that all?
I thought he was renting it to you.
Cause he bought it because he wanted to pull a little chunk out of the back.
Lease option.
Oh, I
So
didn't know
we had
that.
just moved from California,
Yeah,
from San Francisco, and my buddy wanted to buy, your back lot, John Amy's. Didn't he have an option on your acre back there?
he did, and he was gonna pay us cash.
Yes.
It was flake, I'm sorry, it was a flake.
No, he couldn't come up with,
He
he
couldn't get the
couldn't come up
cash?
with.
Oh, he told
He
me
kept
that he couldn't
changing.
get the city, or they wouldn't give him access to the back.
Well, yeah, the walkers, yeah, but he.
We worked our way around that.
But we don't, you did?
I did.
I never heard that.
I was ready to pull the trigger on that.
They were gonna go through your property. How were you gonna do it?
No, it was the ones that bought.
Well, they were
Grant
from England.
What's his name? Griffin, yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike.
His.
Yeah, Mike.
So we worked a deal with Mike, that we were gonna trade some land. We worked that out.
So we could build back.
But secondly, that road that the walkers always said was private, and they
Yeah.
owned, nobody owned it. No,
No,
nobody owned it.
so you could have quick.
No one had paid taxes on it since 46.
No kidding.
Yeah, never had taxes on it, because the guy that owned it, when he sold the walkers the land,
Yeah.
he excluded that because he wanted it to be a road for the city. So they never owned it, although they claimed it. I had a lawyer chase it down.
Yeah.
We were about ready to go do a title on it.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Really? But then
But then the church.
We tried working with the walkers, and several of them wanted to, but
you sold that house across the street before the
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
not too long before, but we did. We kept the acre in the back. So we worked out a deal with Mike, and we were gonna build back there.
So we came and looked at your house too. When it was for sale. Mike's house was for sale, yours was for sale, and Niles was for sale. And we looked at all three, because we knew the Amises and our kids knew each other. And then he didn't end up doing anything with it after I made it.
I know he's your friend, but he just seemed like he was all talking a lot. Does that sound like him?
No, not really. He ended up buying.
Because he did that with, on several pieces of property I talked to.
I think it's more his wife.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
They made an offer on
Section, I'll stop using it.
brick house up in the first cul-de-sac with the columns.
Oh, yeah, it was males.
The males.
The Mayos, yeah.
And they had the same perception of
He
me.
made an offer on them.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that's what he said, because we knew Alan and Linda really well.
and is that,
It was just like that. Mostly what?
Mostly her, she's super.
So we couldn't get him to nail down and commit.
Well, he first said, I want cash, I can pay for it. And then he came back and said, I can't get the cash for it.
He wanted to carry the note.
We said, no.
So he owns a pretty successful
Yeah.
company. Yeah, and he ended up buying up by Imperial.
Okay.
So, yeah, bought a brand new house up there, bought a lot behind him, right next to him.
Good for him.
So
We just couldn't get any
Oh, I
commitment out of it.
oh, okay, so it's a little, yes, it's a different way than I was
nail
thinking.
down and then, no,
So if that,
you extend us more, Tom,
And you decide.
extend us more.
So Mike
So
wanted to,
Tom and I had just moved from California, and we went to look at the house, cause Sean
should I
wanted
be
to move next to
able
us.
to, I own property
One
on
on the
both
corner,
sides of that.
too much work,
Would I be
didn't
able to
quite fit our
iterate that
family, we have 6
canal
kids.
and my
And
property?
my wife always wanted them all on the same floor, so we looked at Niles' house.
Okay, so,
and
but they would have
Tom
no
was
use
mowing.
for it.
So I just started
So,
chatting.
but I could go to the president
He
and
said,
find
what
out.
are you guys looking to do? And I said, well, we just moved from California, so.
Really? Well, I'm the president of the North Union? When did that happen?
I don't even know if I wanna buy a house. And he said, why don't
Really?
you lease it from me? And I said, okay.
Well, that's interesting, okay.
I bought it.
Well, then I won't trouble anyone, but,
6 months later, they announced the temple, and I exercised my option on
no, yeah, I think you own most of the water.
right after I said, Tom, are we good? Like, how do you feel about that? Because I exercised my option.
At a certain price.
2/3 of
see,
what.
the thing is, we knew about the temple for a year.
Let's do that.
We did.
Spend
Not as much.
But we had not
Kept my commitment.
Yes, we did. We had an NDA, the church put you on an
So do you
NDA.
just live up the street now?
Well,
No, we,
I'm just curious, you have to,
we built a new home in Hurricane, and then it broke in half.
both sides of it.
So So until, for example, the last user.
A 60-inch water line that runs down the street. It was a brand new subdivision, a place called Grandpa's Pond, right? Just north of San Hollow or San. Yeah, San Hollow. Yeah, so if you turn south to go to San Hollow, you turn right. You go north, you go up to our house, and there's a pond down there right by the bridge of river. Yeah, our house backed up to the pond. No, this water line come down the middle of the street, sprung a leak, and then it flowed downhill, and it should have gone right down into the river. But it took a hard left turn and flowed right underneath my house, started running into the pond behind our house. It started eroding out the soil. So the builder ended up buying it back. We were really fortunate. Our primary residence is in a little town called Joseph, Utah, which is down by south of Wichita. I work in Salt Lake.
I know you got stuff to do.
I'm thinking probably if we move it back in, we can tear it down and build a new house. Because this is a prime piece of real estate.
It's beautiful. My wife just really wants horses, and I keep telling her, we don't have quite enough, property for that.
Oh, is it Tom? We didn't really know him. Gardner?
Yeah, he's the one that built
But he bought that house so he could cut off some land in the back.
Yeah, so now we only have almost 3/4, we're just shy, 0.73.
So you're bigger than us.
We have a half acre.
Storage and all the buildings behind it. The same people that own the four places.
But it was a guy
Those
named,
changed hands.
they did, Dave sold it.
And he sold it to whoever has it now.
He was a State Farm guy in Provo for years and years and years.
So there was a couple more.
Then his wife died of cancer, and he got remarried to a woman in Idaho.
That's when he sold it, she was sick or something, or he got sick.
No, she got sick, and then he remarried and moved to Idaho with his new wife. That's where she was from. He kept it for a few more years, then eventually. I think it's just hard. Because he tried to buy our house.
He did?
He wanted to buy our little house and put a nephew in it to take care of the property.
Well, I'm serious, if you ever decide you're not moving in there, and you don't wanna rent any more space.
I'll probably want to call foresters for it.
We've got quite a few people that are kind of.
I've been waiting for, I figured once as the temple gets closer to being done, people will probably start chasing this guy.
Yeah.
But you're interested, that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't,
And what's your name again?
Spencer.
Spencer.
We live right across the street, you knock on my door anytime.
So what do you do? Did you figure out what you wanted to do?
So after that, I joined a company called Divvy. It was the credit card. So we sold that company to Bill. And then I started another company back out in San Francisco with some PayPal guys. I only stayed there for about a year, and then I left that company and bought an advertising software company in Salt Lake, just about 2.5 years ago.
So do you work out of the house or you?
No, I'm up there in the office. Yeah. We're right off 146 now.
Okay.
Do you ever not, you know James Endicott, I bet.
I know James very well. Yeah. James actually was on the first company I started. James was one of my mentors. I met him through BYU.
Yeah.
So James and I are very close.
What's your last name?
Barron.
Spencer Barron.
Like Aaron with a B.
Oh, okay.
Barron.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you still talk to James sometimes?
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah, not so
We've
much,
kept
but we.
good friends. At times I'll give him like basketball tickets or something.
Do you have box seats?
No, but I have season tickets. Uh-huh.
We have box seats.
What are box seats at BYU?
I don't know how hard. Oh, not BYU, we're at the
Jazz,
Jazz.
no, I'm talking about BYU. I'm in the lower row.
So my father-in-law used to have 50-yard line, 11 row football season tickets. He and my mother-in-law had them for BYU. And we used to, everybody get, are we keeping these?
We probably are.
Sorry, we're keeping them, you can take this out.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, you guys. Thanks for your time. See ya. I'll reach out to you.
Yes.
Without repair and with your, this is the geotechnical.
State geologist.
State geologist,
For the state.
Director of Utah Geological Survey.
Part of the Department of Natural Resources.
Yeah, great.
So any ground issues,
Groundwater,
groundwater?
earthquakes, landslides.
Thanks.
Do it all. Thanks.
See you later.
Sorry, Juan.
Is this, your,
That's our clipboard too.
what's our clipboard?
Sure. Yep. Mark Lawson.
Right, vámonos amigos.
What did you just say?
Vámonos amigos.
Oh, all right.
But instead of amigos, I say amigas.
Amigos.
It wasn't an opportune time to throw that out.
Oh, I didn't get one of those.
We'd have like 1,000 or 1,500 of them.
You know what I do with this, guys?
Keith went crazy and bought 2,000 of them.
What I do with this, guys, I take the pin off the back, and I use it as a ball marker.
That's true. You could still leave the pin and just push it in the grass.
It's hard to pick up.
You just grind it off.
When I had a whole bunch from Springville, I had the other city, I had a whole bunch, Rod, Old Roy, and every time I went golfing with somebody from out of town.
Here, take a spin with Walmart.
I took a copious amount of.
I appreciate it. It's awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for being here, you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
So, sorry, one question that came up, somebody said, are they gonna survey all of this stuff? And I'm assuming that's a
They
yes.
have to, yeah.
Oh, you mean to put the improvements in?
Yeah, somebody was saying, I have a fence, and is this in my yard, or is this in the street right of way, and didn't know, and I'm like, well, it was really hard to tell on those plans.
Yeah, we'll have to survey the
They've
back of
surveyed the
sidewalk.
improvements, and so.
Not necessarily the property line on.
Not all the property lines going like back and stuff. The ones that we have an apparent need for right of way, yeah. The other ones no. Like, we're not surveying, we're surveying the improvements, so if it sticks out there and it says relocate it, because some of them are already out in the existing right of way.
Okay. Talk to the lady that wants her trees taken out? Okay.
I made notes in two.
Okay. So then that other guy wants to keep the big tree by the canal.
They said the same thing about the one over Walker Farms, and it's still trucking.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it'd be
Well,
dead
now
by
it's in
now.
the painting. Do you know that?
Is it really?
It's the
Tree of Life?
mayor wanted this tree of life thing for Lindon, so now it's in the painting, so don't ever plan to cut that thing down.
Oh, no, once we put the
It's-
median in, I
Stuck.
mean, the holdout, I was like,
No, it's kind of a landmark now, I think. So
Life,
They leave the lights on year round.
Yeah?
Oh, I bet he was.
Did you know that? The lights are on year round?
Yeah.
Yeah, go drive up Center
Really?
Street before you leave today.
oh.
Yeah.
No, I haven't been over there except for receptions, but so they just leave them on, huh?
Yep, it's kind of their landmark.
Wow.
So, anyway, thanks, you guys.
See ya. See ya.
Have a good night. Drive safe.
Will do.